Hey there, how's it going? So today I want to talk about something I saw in a job description. And I like to look at job descriptions, by the way, for interesting things that sometimes jump out at me like this. You can see it on the screen. This bullet point said, enforce adherence to change management processes, including cab reviews, break glass and four eyes checks. So I want to talk about what that means, because some cool things like this you pick up from job descriptions are things that you're not necessarily going to learn by reading a textbook or reading some informational site about DevOps tooling and that kind of thing. So let's start with the first one, which is CAB, Change Advisory Board Reviews. So there's a bit of history to this, pre-DevOps history. Back for a long time in sysadmin days, there's been something called a change control, or just a change for short. This has always been around in sysadmin, and what this involved is if you had some major upcoming work, you had to maybe patch some servers or just change some important configuration to help an application or something like that, then you had to inform people. You would typically write a ticket or a document, and in there you would give some brief detail. You would give the expected outcome, the impact, the risk, what the possible rollback option is if it all went wrong. And yeah, as I say, this is a kind of a communication, a way to inform important necessary parties. So what is a change advisory board? This is a concept also in ITIL. I'm not sure if it existed before that, but a change advisory board is a group of people, a board, typically composed of, let's say, a senior manager, maybe even important stakeholders who could be affected by this change. And it wouldn't be for every kind of change, but it would be for the most important changes. There would be some criteria for that. And despite the name, despite the fact it says change advisory, it's not simply to just advise them, but also for the important changes to present the case for them and then get the approval, get them rubber stamped, get the senior manager and the stakeholders to say, we agree to this. So it's basically a kind of approval gate, and that's what a change advisory board is. They do still exist today in cloud and DevOps, but they're kind of seen as a bit of a legacy thing. Now that's not to say that approval doesn't exist anymore. For the most part, it still does. So for example, you may build in an approval gate into your CI/CD pipelines, and I see this quite often, especially in the financial industry, and even in the non-financial industry, you'll still see it quite often in production. So it could be that head of SRE or head of DevOps or head of development, or one or all of them, may want to just quickly press a button on an approval gate anytime something goes through to production. Or it could be that if it's minor, that they don't need to do that. It could depend on the service. For example, important services, you might configure them to require production, like a payment service. Could be that unimportant services you don't configure an approval gate. Now, remember that one of the ideas of DevOps is to make the development cycles quicker and quicker and quicker. And if you're doing things in the perfect way, or the classic way, you may have heard of Netflix are doing this, that they're practicing in the CD part, actual continuous delivery, not just deployment, but continuous delivery. And there you have no approval gates, and you're willing to make mistakes as long as you can quickly recover from them. But the reality is that most companies are not doing that. Most companies still do have some kind of approval gate involved, because they can't quite get up to the level of Netflix where they can quickly recover, where they can do chaos engineering and readily practice reacting to incidents in that way. Most companies just aren't in that position. They're not mature enough. So that's CAB, Change Advisory Board. Now let's go on to break glass. Now imagine break glass procedure is what you would use in not just major incidents, but the most major of major incidents. So that the kind of thing that will happen when the shit really hits the fan, like once every 2 or 3 years, probably no more often than that. So it gets the name because, can you imagine if you're on public transport, you might see that there is literally a box with glass in front of it, and the idea is that you smash that with your hand to grab a hammer or to set off an alarm or something like that. That's what break glass is in the real physical world. And the idea is that nobody would normally press an alarm, nobody would normally grab that hammer if it wasn't serious. They would only do it in a serious event, because when you break glass, you actually could well injure your hand as well at the same time. But it's worth it because you're getting this fix. Now also this fix, this solution that you're getting, whether it's a hammer or setting off an alarm or whatever, it's pretty serious. It's not exactly an elegant solution. It typically is quite often some kind of brute or janky or blunt type of solution. So that's what break glass is. That's what break glass procedure is, even in cloud DevOps world. It's something that you hope you never have to use, but it's there. It's a very janky, brute solution, and it could involve some pain to use this solution, but it's going to be worth it. So what kind of break glass solutions are there for companies in their cloud DevOps operations? Well, a classic one is that, let's say your entire company cloud presence is under not necessarily attack, but there's something serious going on, and you need to get in with the root account. It's an out-of-band account. You need to get in with the root account. It can be used by anybody. It's not tied to multi-factor authentication or anything like that. It simply has a password. Well, actually, it will have MFA, but anyway, you need a password for this, and quite typically what people will do is they will lock that in a physical safe. So super janky to have a piece of paper with a password on it locked up in a safe, and maybe the only person who knows how to get in that safe is one of your directors or something like that. So that is a typical break glass style situation. Some of you may also be doing something like, for example, if you're using HashiCorp Vault, you may be doing something called, I think if I remember correctly, I think it's called Shamir Sealed Secrets or something. But basically it may be that you need to get into, you need to unlock the vault, and you need I think the way that it works, if I remember correctly, you need 3 people or more to use their key. And it's very rare that you would have to do that, but in a really serious incident you may need to do that. And then yeah, it calls upon having 2 or 3 people to follow some procedure that you hardly ever do. You may do drills for it, you may practice it, but to actually need it, very rare event. And then you'll have to go in and do this kind of strange procedure, because it's a break glass procedure. You hope you never have to use it, but you know it's there if you need it. That's what break glass is. So finally, 4 eyes checks. So 4 eyes checks are basically where you need another person, hence the extra set of eyes, another person's opinion on work being delivered. So the classic example is a pull request when you've committed code but you now want to merge that to mainline because you're doing trunk-based development, and you have a rule that says no one can push to mainline without creating a pull request, and a pull request is just a framework for approval that you can show. It shows the diff for your code, and an approver can look at it, see what the difference is, and maybe some of the notes that you've added there, explanatory notes, and you are getting another set of eyes on the work being delivered. Now, the great thing about it is, for the person who's written that code, it's not adversarial, okay? It's not about someone senior looking through everything you've done like a teacher looking at your homework. It's the great thing is there's great benefits to it. You're getting great feedback from your co-workers on what you're doing. You may think it's very easy to get into a particular style, and actually you need to code for everyone, not just for yourself. So it's great to help you grow, and it's also great to help the approver grow. So as I say, it's not adversarial, it's not about oversight. It needs someone capable to do this. You don't use, when you're doing pull requests and getting an approver, you don't get someone senior to do that. You can use someone senior, but really it's better to use someone on the same level as you. You just need someone equally as capable as you. You don't need someone who is senior. They should have the same capability of you. You shouldn't be making code if you're not capable, and so therefore you only need someone as capable as you, equal capability. Now, there is another opinion, and some people may see 4 eyes as similar to the cab review process. They may see it as someone more senior needing to have oversight and give their approval and put their neck on the line. To me, that's not really what Four Eyes checks is about. That's separate, and you would use that only in very rare cases. Four Eyes to me is more about the general concept that everyone gives each other feedback and everybody grows and the company is better off for it. Now, maybe I'm looking at that wrong, but to me that's what Four Eyes is, or that's what it should be anyway. So anyway, hope you found this useful, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye bye.